Jinnie Cristerna, the High Achievers Therapist, and I'm super excited to talk with you today about the work that I do and how I can bring my expertise as a mental health expert to your next news story, whether it's television or radio. You'll find that I'm able to take things, make it fun, make it light, especially those heavy topics, and take those topics that can be a little nonsensical, bring them down to earth and make them practical so people can see the value. I'm a graduate of the University of Chicago, and I specialize in a number of things: clinical and traditional psychodynamic psychotherapy, and a lot of energy work. I'm always excited when the media calls me because I get a chance to talk with so many more people than I would ever get a chance to talk with in my office, because it's just not possible. So being able to be the resident therapist for Jet Magazine, and then also a contributing writer for Jet and Ebony Magazine, be on You and Me This Morning, or consult and connect and talk with the audience on NPR or WBEZ Radio, or even in Seoul, Korea, I've connected and talked with some newspapers over there to do some interviews and stories about different mental health issues. I'm also the sports psychology manager for USA Taekwondo, so I work with their Olympians and their national athletes on how to improve their performance and their mental resiliency. So what I do spans the gamut, because it all has to do with psychology, it all has to do with energy, and it all has to do with growing and healing. And for me, that's not work. It's a lot of fun. And whenever I can have that kind of fun with more people, then that becomes a party. People tend to find me in very interesting ways. It's mainly referral only. They'll come in for some clinical psychotherapy, maybe they'll come in for some coaching. I've gotten a number of clients who come in for energy work and spiritual psychotherapy, which is something that most people tend to look for after they feel that they've gone as far as they can go in traditional psychotherapy. More people are starting to come to me for soul healing instead of the traditional mind-to-mind conversation. People are looking within themselves to find out what they can do to take more control over their lives and be able to do that in a short amount of time, so they're not necessarily in a psychotherapist office for several years, going between 1 and 4 or 5 days a week. People enjoy working with me because it's a lot easier and safer than they expected to look at those parts of themselves in very practical ways and find the courage to make the changes in their lives right away. So it's not about stumbling through the darkness on your own or feeling like you're by yourself. You know that you have someone walking right next to you. This is your journey and you have to walk it, but you don't have to walk it alone. So for example, let's take depression. Most people don't like it because it's depressing. Well, I would actually take that with your audience and I would talk about, yeah, it's pretty depressing, but there's some amazing things that happen within that depression that allow you to move on to the next part of your life. So for example, there are probably 7 things that you can do to learn from your depression and to make your depression actually worthwhile. Not that we want to stay stuck and go visit that place again, but when you're there, there's something you're supposed to be picking up and learning. An example of another topic that most people really struggle with is being stuck in their career, being stuck in their life. There's something about the glue of being stuck that keeps this a timeless topic. It usually has something to do with fear, and it has some element of afraid of being successful, and each person has a different version of that for themselves. So there's no one universal way to say, you're afraid of being successful. Each person has to experience that and see that for themselves. And we begin by talking about things like, first of all, where are you? A lot of people who are stuck, they don't even know where they are. So if you imagine a map in a mall and goes, you are here. That's what we really want to start off with first. Where are you? So if you can find out where you are, it's so much easier to find out where you want to go or decide where you want to go. So the first thing you want to do when you're stuck is go, well, where am I at? And the second thing you want to do is ask yourself, how did I get here? Because if you don't know how you got there, it's like going in a circle without a map. The same thing keeps happening. It's so familiar, but you don't know when and where to make a left or a right turn. So you keep doing the same thing you've been doing because now you're on autopilot. Now, one of the timeless topics that come up all of the time for many people is blame. It's your fault, it's your fault, it's her fault, it's his fault. And it's very rare that you see people say, this is what I did, how can I make it right? So when we talk about blame, we talk about it often from a very judgmental perspective. How do I lighten it up? I lighten it up by saying things like, that's interesting. What do you think you could have done differently? And then I give tips on things that people can actually do differently to change the outcome of a situation, or at the very least to change the trajectory of a situation. So if we see it going left really, really quickly, what we want to do is start to do a U-turn so at least we don't hit the iceberg. We do not need another Titanic. One of the things that people tend to respond very well to when we talk about blame is personal responsibility. At first sound, it seems a little off-putting because people presume that you're telling them that they've been irresponsible. But in fact, what I do is talk with people about how that makes them even more responsible and how that in and of itself helps them to shift up, to move forward, and to take more control of their life. So if you're looking for a mental health subject matter expert who can take playful things and make them even more fun and playful and practical, and who can take things that are very heavy and lighten them up so people can actually engage and start to take responsibility and action towards changing their lives, you want to give me a call. Jinnie Cristerna, the High Achievers Therapist.